Have you ever stopped to think that maybe our most cutting edge scientific theories about the universe might actually echo some of our most ancient spiritual ideas? Today, we're diving into this really strange but fascinating connection, the link between the expanding cosmos of modern physics and the concept of an all encompassing reality from theology. It's a journey right to the very edge of what we know. Just think about the history of discovery for a minute. When you look at it, there's this incredible pattern that keeps showing up, almost like a cosmic rule. It seems like every single time we build a better telescope or a more powerful particle collider, the universe we thought we knew just gets bigger, it gets more complex, more beautiful, and honestly, ways stranger than we ever imagined. But what's really wild is that this idea of a reality that is constantly revealing more of itself isn't new at all. All right, so let's start with this whole concept of a universe that grows. First, we're going to look at what science has discovered, and then we'll see how that discovery stacks up against some absolutely massive claims that were made thousands of years ago. Now, just listen to the sheer scale of this ancient claim. It's not just saying, a divine being created the universe and then just stepped back. No, this proposes that all of reality, every galaxy, every star, every single one of us, exists and is literally held together within this divine reality. Just try to hold that monumental idea in your head as we turn to the science. So let's switch gears to the science and see how this all builds. When cosmologists talk about an expanding universe, what do they actually mean? Because it's probably a little different than what you might be picturing. Okay, so here's the key idea. It's so easy to picture galaxies flying apart through empty space, kind of like cosmic shrapnel from an explosion. But that's not what's happening. The incredible discovery, confirmed by people like Edwin Hubble, is that the very fabric of space-time itself is stretching. And trust me, that distinction changes everything. And this is where the classic balloon analogy really helps. Imagine you draw a bunch of dots on a balloon to represent galaxies. As you blow air into it, what happens? The dots all move away from each other, right? But they're not crawling across the rubber. It's the rubber surface itself that's expanding. Well, that's our universe. And that right there is the question that takes us to the absolute edge of physics. The honest scientific answer? We have no idea. The concept of an outside to the universe just doesn't really compute in our current models. In asking that question, we've basically walked out of the classroom of physics and into the realm of philosophy. So, while science bumps up against this huge conceptual wall, let's see how classical theology approaches the problem. It comes at reality from a completely different angle, talking about a foundation that exists beyond the physical universe itself. This is a truly radical idea. It's presenting God not as some being inside the universe, no matter how powerful, but as a totally different category of reality. The ultimate reality that our entire universe depends on just to exist. Thinkers like Thomas Aquinas called this the ground of being. They basically argue that the universe itself isn't self-sustaining. It needs something else, something deeper, an uncaused reality for its very existence. It's the reason there's something here at all instead of just nothing. And that famous declaration, it gets right to the heart of it. It's conveying this idea of a self-existent being. It's not something that was caused or created, but it's the uncaused reality that everything else depends on. Okay, this is where it gets really fun. Let's put these two giant ideas, the scientific one and the theological one, right next to each other. Because this is where some really surprising connections start to pop up. For centuries, the default assumption in science was that the universe was just static and eternal. It was always here. But then, the overwhelming evidence for the Big Bang completely blew up that picture. And what's so profound is that now, both modern cosmology and the ancient book of Genesis agree on this one fundamental point. Our universe is not eternal. It had a beginning. Now just look at this number. That is a 1, followed by 120 zeros. It's a number that doesn't even feel real. This represents the mind-boggling precision of a value in physics called the cosmological constant. If this value were different by even a single part in 10 to the 120th power, stable galaxies never would have formed. We wouldn't be here. This is the fine-tuning of the universe, and it is mathematically staggering. And here's another really interesting parallel. Theologians don't just talk about creation as a one-time event, but as this continuous act of sustaining existence, second by second. And then you have science describing the fundamental forces, like gravity and electromagnetism, that literally hold everything together. The language is totally different, of course, but both perspectives point to a universe that just doesn't seem to explain itself. So when we talk about the universe being in God, we have to be really precise. Pantheism says God is the universe. They're the exact same thing. Deism says God is like a clockmaker who built the universe, wound it up, and then just left it alone. But there's a third view, pantheism, which suggests the universe is within God, but that God is also infinitely more than just the universe. So the biblical view lands closest to a form of panentheism, which is often called transcendent immanence. It just means God is both beyond creation, or transcendent, and at the same time, actively present within it, or immanent. You have to hold both of those big ideas in tension at the same time. And all this brings us right to the edge, to the ultimate mystery, the question that sits underneath both science and theology, challenging each one in its own way. You know, maybe the simplest way to see it is as two different kinds of questions. Science is an incredibly powerful tool for describing the mechanism of the universe, the how. It explains how stars burn, how gravity works, how life evolves. Scripture, on the other hand, is mostly concerned with purpose, the why. And this is the question that neither one can fully answer on its own. Physics can describe what happened a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, but it can't explain why there are laws of physics in the first place. Why is there a universe with laws and logic and life instead of just absolutely nothing? And maybe that's the most profound takeaway of all. We've got this picture of an expanding cosmos pointing towards a reality that's beyond our space and time. And yet, the claim is that this same infinite reality is also personal, knowable, and close. It's that incredible tension between the cosmic and the personal that leaves us with something to really think about.